right. Hello, Miss Dickey. Would you like to tell me about some of the activities in your lesson today?
Yeah, so a big focus that we have had is on ACT and improving our ACT scores. So our activities include doing like bell ringers to do a spiral review of all the skills that maybe they've missed throughout the years, and just kind of going back over those and getting them comfortable, and like also doing the pacing of the ACT, because in the math portion they only get about a minute per question.
What standards do you feel like that are addressed as part of maybe some of those bell ringers?
Mostly our geometry standards are what we're focusing on, because that was when I was looking at the data for my classes, geometry was the weakest area that they scored on their ACT. So we've been covering our geometry standard 30, which is developing and using the precise definitions of parallel lines and transversals.
Okay, all right. Well, what part of maybe this lesson of this activity do you feel like was unsuccessful? And maybe was there some data that you used to maybe determine why that was unsuccessful?
Yes, I've been, so every time we have a weekly quiz, I've been sprinkling in some ACT questions. So I have seen an overall improvement of their ability to answer the ACT questions, but there are still some individuals struggling. So I think we need to focus more on the individual weaknesses.
Okay. Well, what do you feel like maybe is working well in your class? Like, what do you feel like is successful? And maybe some data to back that up.
Well, we have been doing where I'll let them for 30 minutes a week. We will let them use the study hall portion of Mastery Prep, which is our program that is supposed to help them increase their ACT scores. It's a curriculum that we can use to pull the ACT questions from, but I let them go in there and practice their individual weaknesses, because not everybody is geometry, but that way it's more tailored towards the specific student.
Okay, so you would say that these are some of the strategies that you've been using to help improve ACT scores for like the class as a whole, and then maybe like the way the program's set up, it also helps them individually.
Yes, yeah. I think as a whole, us talking about it, whole group at the beginning of class, like the bell ringer, and then individual, letting them practice on their weaknesses, and they have videos in there that explains the correct answer if they're confused, or they can ask me.
Okay. And then, like, through all of this, was there some data that was produced from the individuals and from the class as a whole that you could see on there? Like, maybe, like, as a whole, some things you needed to work on, and then maybe, like, that some of the individuals needed to work on? Was there some data that you could see on some of the scores on that?
Yeah, whenever they did their practice exam, it was like the first week of school, they all took a practice ACT, and that's where I pulled that data of the overall weaknesses. And then we had a breakdown of each student and where they scored the highest, where they scored the lowest. And we don't want to just forget those high score, their high scoring levels or areas. We like to pull that in too, but yeah, we have all that data to support where this is the area they need to work in. So this is what we're focusing on.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds really good. Well, based on the data that you do have and the stuff that you've seen, what are some things that, like on the lower end of the stuff, what are some things that you might do next time to help improve the lesson?
I think just starting early. I think maybe we just do one question a day right now, but I think doing like 2 or 3, but you still only get like a minute per question. Because I think sometimes we spend too much time on one question, and that's not realistic for the ACT, because they've got to move on, and if they don't get it, they've got to, use some strategies like process of elimination or plug and chug or anything like that to do their best guess, basically.
Okay.
So just simulating the actual ACT.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job on everything, and that you've reflected on some things that you could do better, and you have identified some things that you're doing well, and overall, I think you're doing a great job.